Hey friends, it's Around the Circle. I'm Jeff. We're doing a Mistyping Monday today for fun with Meredith. Meredith is a member on our Patreon, and occasionally we will get a chance to do coaching and mistyping sessions with folks who are members. And if you want to get into that, feel free to sign up for a membership. Send me a direct message. We'll put you on the list. But Meredith, it's good to meet you. I actually have met you before, but where are you living, Meredith?
I live in Florida on the West Coast in Venice on the Gulf.
Nice.
Yeah.
How close are you to the ocean?
I'm about half a mile.
Boom.
Live in a neighborhood,
Fun.
ride my bike. Yeah, it's nice. It's fun.
I'm 1,000 miles from the ocean, which is one of the few downsides to living in Colorado. But
you're close to mountains and hiking.
I am close to the mountains.
Yes.
I can get up to 14,000 feet pretty fast from my house if I need to.
Nice.
Which is good times. See everything. Now, you have studied the Enneagram a little bit, but want to do a deeper dive into your type. This is real common. Takes some courage, takes some humility. I'm really glad that we connected on this front because I think this will be really helpful for folks who find themselves in that spot. So tell me just about your experience of Enneagram so far.
So I love Richard Rohr and read a lot of his books, and that was where I found his Enneagram book. Really never heard of it before. I don't know how I missed it my whole life, but I did. I wish I had learned about it about 20 years ago. Would have helped in a lot of ways. So I just kind of jumped on and started searching things. His book was kind of heavy at first, and some of the stuff I thought was weird, but found you guys. Actually, my son found Around the Circle. I was listening to something else, and he was like, you should listen to this, Mom. So I started listening to it, and I drove up to Pennsylvania for Christmas, 20 hours in the car by myself, and listened to about every single thing you have. And so I got a really good introduction. By the time I got there, all of my kids, I had them typed, I had myself typed, I had everybody in my life typed. My kids really got sick of hearing about it. You know, they were like, if you bring it up one more time, but, you know, it was fun. It's really good. They're into it now. I just have to be careful not to overdo it, you know. So that's about it.
These are the steps in Enneagram discovery is you get into the material, get excited, you think you find your number, you type everyone else, and then you second guess your own number.
Yes.
This is the way.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I connected with you.
It is. It's crazy because I was like, I'm sure I'm this, but then you start listening. I start coming to different podcasts that you have and listening, and I'm like, I don't really feel that. Or I see other people in that type, and I'm like, that's not really my personality. So, but I keep bringing myself back to motive. Okay, what's my motive here, though? What's my attendance? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see what you think.
Attendance is a good word. Well, as you jump in, what are some of the things that have pinged for you that you see yourself in? It's not just I see myself in two, but this is the part of two-ness, the part of five-ness or that I resonate with.
The need to be needed is huge for me. I'm very relational. I love relationships. I'm a people person. I'm a teacher. I don't know if that makes any difference, but
it does.
I'm a teacher, and I'm, you know, so invested in my students, my relationship with them, my relationship with my kids. I felt like I was too much for people before, like just over the top, was willing to do whatever anyone needed for help. So, you know, that was a really important thing. I mean, it was just so obvious that I was a two in that way. Mm-hmm. But then I thought, you know, well, I'm a mom, you know, raise my kids. I have a real connection to people. I did say I got a dog last year in the summer, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get a dog because I just need something to love that wants my love, you know. And I felt like I could just overkill on a dog, where your adult children are kind of like, yeah, we have our own lives, type of thing. So, kind of stuff like that. I've kind of identified as a codependent. I'm in 12-step recovery with that kind of stuff. So although I know now, you know, being in those meetings, not everyone's a two who's a codependent. So it's interesting, right? How addiction and things like that play out. But yeah, so that's basically, did I answer your question?
You did. I kind of jumped in and just kind of was naming numbers, but I'm glad that some of the attributes of two resonate for you. Now, you have likewise said a couple times that there's some other numbers that hit for you.
So
you want to go through those?
sure. I mean, and it's funny because I feel like if I look at my younger self, I can see other numbers in it, and it's like at different stages in my life, I feel like I've been more of a different number. So I'll bring up 3 first. I am a go-getter, and I like to do well at work. I like to do well even as a mom. I wanted to be the best mom, and I appreciate so much of the recognition, the trophy, that sort of thing. I want to, I don't know. It definitely success is important to me, and I want to be the best at everything, So I'm kind of always going in a whole bunch of different directions, learning new things, and then trying to become the best at it. When I was in my 20s, I picked up a flute and I was like, oh, I want to learn how to play flute. And I went and took lessons and sat with a bunch of little girls in the waiting room, as far as the flute goes. And I became really good. I worked really hard at it. I was playing at conferences. I was doing all kinds of things. So it's always like something that I grab onto. And people have said this before, kind of with an eye roll, is I'll just go for it. But I'm not quite sure if relationships are less important. Relationships are very important, but success is very important for me too. But I like to see other people succeed. So I don't know.
Yep.
That's kind of where the 3 comes in. I feel, yeah. And then there's the 8.
You see that's what needs to be named, is you see some 3 in yourself as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about 8.
8, I pretty much speak my mind about things. I'm not a real timid person. I've had to train myself to keep my mouth shut a lot of times. It's more like what you see is what you get. I do tiptoe around people, but it has to be somebody that I really want to impress or don't want to push away. But and sometimes anger. I felt like I get confused when you guys talk about anger, because I do get angry, and I will let you know. And so those sorts of things. Some of the 2s that I've seen, on the second Saturdays or the book club, I don't feel like I connect with their gentleness as much. But I know that I have a line to 8. So, and I'm still.
If you're a 2, you would have a line to 8.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like when I'm over it, I'm over it, and I will do everything I can to help you. But the truth of the matter is, too, is when I feel unappreciated, that just kind of triggers me as well. So that sounds 2-ish. So I would say I pick up on a lot of the unhealthy traits of an 8. Maybe that's what I see 8. When I think of setting clear boundaries, I think 8s do that. I'm not as good at setting clear boundaries. I mean, I'm a teacher, and it's like, all right, here's the rule. The paper's due here. And then I'm pushing it back. Oh, okay, it's all right. We'll make it the next day, the next day, the next day. I allow people to push me around in that way, and I'm trying to get better at setting boundaries. So here I am talking myself out of 8, but that is the one other one. I would say I'm not an 8.
Verbally processing, I have found, is incredibly helpful. So
I'm a serious verbal
fully
processor.
endorse it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a verbal.
You want to talk about that?
Well, I think I'm married to a 5. I'm pretty sure I'm married to a 5. They're obvious, and this whole thing is very suspicious to him, right? But
rightly so.
Yep. And but one of the things that we always had to learn was, I would say, like, I want to do this, let's do this, let's remodel the bathroom. We'll start by ripping this out. And he thought I was literally going to do it right then, but I was processing. So we've learned a lot in our marriage that I will talk about a lot of things before I come to the conclusion, yeah, maybe this isn't the right time. Whereas he won't really say much about it, and it'll all be processed in his head. So there's a clear distinction between the 2 of us, and that's where I've learned that I am a verbal processor, I think, more than anything. But definitely extroverted, definitely always looking outward, except when it comes to shame. See, shame is another thing that I struggle with. If I make a mistake or screw something up or hurt someone's feelings, I feel like I I will grind on that for a long time and be like, why did I do that? Why am I so stupid? Why did I say that? And beat myself up, which, as I get older, I've learned not to do that as much. But that's, I think with age comes a little bit of growth, So, yeah.
Do you have any trouble naming the things that you need?
I, I do. I did. See, I have to go back too because with being in 12-step recovery, I've kind of learned to do that. But yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I remember someone saying, what kind of cereal do you like? I don't even know what kind of cereal I like, or I don't even know these silly things. This happened, like 15 years ago, where because everybody else was first, everybody else's needs were taken care of. Even if it was taking food right off my plate, I'd be giving it to them. So my needs, yeah, just the fact that I don't know how to answer this question is probably very telling, you know. So yeah.
Can we? I would love to go there if you're willing to. And this doesn't have to get too deep, but is there when going through a 12 step? I assume there's things that you learned about yourself in going through some in the process.
Hmm.
Is there one or two things that you weren't aware of before that kind of came
Um,
forward?
okay, there's two things. Denial was huge for me. I lived in denial, and I would give everyone around me a pass and kind of
Yeah.
reframe things that were happening that were hurting me. And so I learned what denial was, and for me, it was lying to myself was a big about what was actually happening around me. And I was in a 30-year marriage with an addict, and it was just constantly giving a pass, constantly thinking that things were going to get better, and of course trying to fix that person, and which is a big
Yeah.
huge part of codependency. So I think the denial thing was big. And what was else? Because I did a fourth step inventory. Unmet expectations are, I have very high expectations of people, and I get disappointed when they don't meet them. Very disappointed,
Okay.
relationally. And, on my walk this morning, I was thinking about, I don't know if it's with every two, but most of my life without realizing the different personalities that people have, I realized I was really judgmental in my mind. Not so much outwardly, I wouldn't judge somebody or verbalize it, but I would be judging people. Wow, they're really rude. Why are they acting that way? Because I thought everybody was supposed to put everybody else's needs before themselves. But that doesn't come
Mm-hmm.
natural to everyone. you know, it's nor should it, right? But I felt like that was something that was revealed to me, that it's not normal to put everybody else's needs before your own. That's probably the biggest thing that I learned, and I'm still learning that. I don't know.
That's a good insight. That's an excellent insight.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about high expectations of others and what would be an example of something that you really want from someone?
Maybe the high expectations. Okay, so an example. I'm trying to think of something more recent. This is kind of embarrassing. So I don't know if it's the only example that's coming to my mind. So maybe I'm supposed to say it. Oh well, what the hell. So my ex husband had done something for my grandkids, and my son, while I was there visiting at Christmas, my son had said was having my granddaughters write a thank you note to him, and he's a good guy, and I felt like no one's written me a thank you note, and it
Right.
it bothered me, like this expectation. I feel like sometimes um, I have this expectation of my family or people around me to go overboard for me the way I go overboard for them. So that might be, I know that's a big, huge expectation that I've gone through in 12 step recovery was that you can't expect people to do for you what you do for them. And that's not the reason why we do it anyway. So I think that's what I do. But it was like I was a little bit hurt, like, well, nobody's making me a card. And then I felt very immature and stupid. It's a good thing I didn't say it to anyone, but usually these things go through my mind. And, I think when my kids were young, I might have said it, guilted everybody in the room, like, well, you need to do something for me once in a while. So I think those are expectations of people. Yeah. And that's what
Do
the
you
Enneagram has
do
helped
you
me so much
find
with. Sorry.
do you find that you use guilt or manipulation as a tool in your family ever?
I'm sure I did before I went into recovery. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, pack your bags. We're going on a guilt trip. I think.
I haven't heard that. That seems so obvious
Yeah.
now. That's a good one
Oh,
though.
you've never heard that. I raised four
No,
boys.
but please.
I raised four
Even better.
boys. I was the only mom. I was the only woman in the house. I was the mom. I was a very attentive, fun mom. My kids will say, "Mom, you were fun." We did a lot of great stuff, and I had came with high energy. But if you weren't doing what I wanted you to do, and I think that's probably one of the things I learned in recovery was to not do that. So I don't think I do it as much anymore, but I definitely did it when I was younger, for sure. And
Mm.
manipulation, like, yeah, sorry, but I'm sure. Um, and I think a lot of times is because I knew exactly how to use that tool. Gosh, I'm
Yeah.
really embarrassing myself here, but you really, um, I know people's weak points.
You can see other people's weak points?
Yeah, and I don't want to say weaknesses as in it being a negative thing, maybe
Or yeah,
sensitivities or tenderness or maybe what they
perfect.
want, what their motives are. And I really know what they want. And so it's kind of, I can, you know, I can shape shift myself into being what you need me to be at the moment and think that that's a positive thing, but it's actually manipulation. It's not honesty. And that's going back to that denial because the denial was, like I would never tell a lie. I'm not a liar.
Right.
But that is kind of misrepresentation, um, is. And I was raised in a alcoholic home too. 7 children, youngest of 7 children. So that was flying all over the place when I was a kid. I mean, everybody was just trying to
Okay.
survive. It's a survival technique. And
Yeah.
I think that's very typical of families, family of alcoholics, or addiction, whatever. I don't see it just alcohol. I see it, could be anything. And my mom struggled, God bless her, with bipolar disease. So we had a lot
Mm.
going on in my childhood.
Right.
So so I just defended myself for being manipulative. Did you notice that?
I did not catch that, but
Sorry.
maybe I'll re-listen.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All this is very helpful. Let me. I want to just cover all my bases before like saying anything else. But do you recognize that you struggle with anxiety ever?
Um,
That's not relational. That's not relational.
no, we have a joke, especially in the class. When I'm thinking about students and anxiety is really something that my generation didn't talk about as much. I'm just on the
Hmm.
cusp of being a baby boomer, so I'm not quite, but um, and we were like anxiety. That's just what we all lived with all the time. It was stress. It was normal. So um, I do. I don't think so. To answer your question, I
Right.
yeah, I don't think I'm a very
You
anxious person. I think I'm unless it has to do with I'm losing someone or I feel like,
Yeah.
yes, then I can get. COVID was really hard for me because I moved to Florida 7 years ago. My kids, all of my adult children and grandchildren are in Pennsylvania. And so in 2017, we moved here. And then when COVID hit, I didn't see anybody. And we weren't even teaching, we were teaching online. And I would say that I probably experienced anxiety then more than I've ever in my life. So.
Because of the relational disconnection?
Yeah.
Or because of something else?
Well, my mom passed away in 2019.
Okay.
And my son and my grandchildren lived here. They moved to Florida and then moved away. So they had just left. I had a lot of involvement in their lives.
Right.
Work was kind of, there was just everything. It was just, wasn't happy with work. I wasn't happy with shifting online. Was very just dissatisfied with everything. But I did like, it's kind of funny because I did kind of like being home all the time, but then it was enough and the disconnect with people and living with a 5. I'm like, you will talk to me, you know.
Yeah, right.
Right. Anyway. So yeah, I think that the anxiety there, but that's not really something that I've dealt with.
Bang.
Yeah.
My mom also passed in 2019.
Really?
So the just before the COVID, she would have had a hard time during COVID.
I say the exact. I mean, I feel I miss her terribly, but it would have been difficult for all of. I took care of my mom for 10 years. She lived with me.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, likewise. Well, I mean, to be honest, I would normally, I type everybody as a 1, which some people know, and I don't feel like going down that road in terms of testing that base. Some of the buzz 6 words aren't really hitting for me. I think you're right to elevate 3 and 8ness in terms of what it feels like with your energy, but you're right in terms of saying one of these is your wing and one of these is your stress move. And I didn't hear a whole lot of, it feels to me like you care way too much about other people's feelings in a depthier way than to be either a 3 or an 8. I think 2, as you said from the beginning, it just really makes a lot of sense. And if the language and tool kind of work for you, that you should feel real comfortable there. I would love to go through kind of the list of things that really hit me as 2-ish, and we could play some of those out.
Sure.
But we kind of started there, and I feel like that's a really good place to kind of live unless something else pops for you.
7 too. When I
what?
think about 7,
Did 7 hit for you?
well,
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I mean, I don't want to sound negative, but I think I'm way too responsible to be a 7. But and maybe I've got 7s.
That would be a.
But I like to have fun. I mean, we did adventures when my kids were young, and I loved planning. But I think I loved following through with the planning. So.
Yeah. Did you love having fun with your kids because of what they brought to you in those moments, or did you love having fun for a different reason?
It's what they brought. Yeah, because I even said to my husband, I don't even want to go to Moat Marine, which is, why do we want to go to Moat Marine if we're not going with the grandkids? It's fun to go because we get to see their reaction to the sharks and to the, oh gosh. I'm pathetic.
Well, no, that just comes out of a deeper motive. And since you are a little bit familiar with what we're doing with the reading room, the bonding side of our nervous system is very, very strong, but especially for 2s, 3s, and 4s. And so a lot of our behavior and motive just comes out of the fact that we really want to connect with the people who we cherish in our lives. That seems like a a really great good. There's a lot of us that don't have somebody who cares for us at that level. You're, I imagine, a real treasure for a lot of the people in your life.
Oh.
The stuff that I hear, obviously, you started off with just saying needed to be needed's a thing for you, and that's big. Your work as a teacher ends up being, you've picked a vocation in which you're going to connect with other human beings regularly who are younger than you and probably a little dependent on you. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that is, you positioned yourself well for getting your needs met. The idea that you feel like you're too much for people is a very 1-2-6 kind of phrase, and that popped really hard for me. 1s, 2s, and 6s all can feel like they're too much for people, and that kind of moved me off of, I mean, 4s and 8s can, and 6s can't. Well, I said 6. 4s and 8s can for a different reason, but I heard it much more relationally, as though you're wanting to give something to someone, and that's what feels like it's too much. And that's the 1-2-6 kind of, that's our wheelhouse. So I'm a 1, by the way, if you're a new listener. And so I connect with that. I need something to love that wants my love in return. And so I'm going to outsource some of that to a dog. That's perfect. I'm going to kill you with my affection. So I'm going to get a puppy
instead.
So that I don't kill you with my affection.
That's exactly what I did. I mean, that's exactly it.
I hate to say that I have done the same thing. So it's not necessarily exclusive to 1s or to 2s, that is. But it is a thing. Codependency also can kind of stretch across the board. So it's interesting how this has played out in your story. I love how much you brought up competitiveness. So that's not something I see as much with 2s, unless it's competing for other people's affection. You brought up some stuff that felt like it was more attention focused, and I think you were right in saying that there's kind of some 3 here, that you want to be the best at everything. I would want to, like, obviously there's a wing there. 2s and 3s, in my experience, can look really similar. The 3-ness has far more of a pushing away of emotions than what I hear in your language. There's much more of much more attention on themselves and not as much on others than what I hear on your language. But obviously motives similar there. So, and then I think you were characterizing 8. The 8 stuff that you were saying was more the solidifier for me. For listeners, talking about the stress move really is a place to find your type once you kind of have some options. So if you feel like you're going into 8 space, especially what I heard is you were going into 8 space when it felt like things were uncomfortable, when things were kind of breaking, and that sometimes you saw your worst self in 8 space, all of that would just buzz for me.
Yeah. Well, I raised 4 boys, and, the joke is,
right?
It was like I was a great mom, but once they pushed me to a certain point, it was like everybody better go run and hide. And it was just, I always thought, well, it's because I'm a boy mom. You have to do that to survive, And
yeah, right.
We had a blast, but they definitely would push me sometimes, and then I'd blow. So,
right.
Yeah.
In my experience of 2s are great. Talk quite a bit openly, and
honest.
They're verbose. So speaking your mind, training yourself to keep your mouth shut. All those are aren't necessarily 8-ish. They're much more in that 2-6 kind of and area for me as you were talking, and maybe even some 4 stuff. But that's just where that popped for me. The feeling, like you said it a couple times, and it's just kind of here's really where this is coming out, is the feeling of being unappreciated or your story of having high expectations of others, and what those look like were very relational, and they had to do with giving you affirmation in return for something you had invested in them. So it
Gave
wasn't
myself away
that
there,
you
huh?
had, yeah. So a 3 is going to win people's affection and attention, and sometimes it is based on service. My wife serves the hell out of people and expects people, and really does want to get some accolades on the backside. It's very showy for her, and her gifts are all often very novel, thoughtful, well executed, and so
I
this isn't
definitely do
necessarily
that.
a
So
disproof of 3, but
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I definitely do that. The other thing that was 3ish, I had a situation, and I was kind of doing I applied for a position, a teaching position, and basically what I did was after COVID, I decided to teach high school. I thought, because I teach on the
Okay.
college level, and I thought, oh,
Yeah.
they need me in high school. They were saying the high school teachers, and so I taught for high school and juniors and seniors, and I lasted 2 months. Those kids chewed me up and spit me out. I mean, I had no idea because I knew nothing about classroom management. I was taught on the college level my whole life. It was like,
Yeah.
no,
Yep.
they listen to you there. They want to learn
Yep.
for the most part. So after I did that, I went back to a university down here in Florida and applied for a position. And the person that was wanted to hire me, I felt like it was a shoo-in that I was going to get the job. I mean, I just assumed I was going to get the job. I was well qualified, the whole deal. I put forth a lot of effort into it, and I didn't get the job. And it crushed me. I mean, this has been 2 years, and I'm still
What,
talking about it.
what's your field?
English. I teach writing.
Okay. Big.
I teach writing, rhetoric.
Big.
Like composition, writing, any kind of.
Yeah.
So that was the position I was. I mean, I've taught literature and things like that too, but yeah, and it wasn't even that great of a job, but I was so upset that I didn't get that job. It was like, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why, I had such a, it was such a blow. Plus, most jobs I've ever applied to, I get. It was almost like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know. I didn't get the job, and I was so pissed and struggling, like finding, like, well, must have been this, must have been that. Why was it this? This is, and that felt kind of 3ish to me too, because it was hard for me to lose that success. What I would have thought was, okay, I got it. I succeeded. So anyway, but maybe that's the 3 wing. I don't know. There could be a lot of different things involved with that.
Of all things, I hear a lot too there in terms of the verbal processing, and it's oftentimes when the 3 doesn't get a job, they may spin things very severely in that space so that they don't experience the failure at all. Like if you're actually talking about it as a failure, that may be kind of a proof. The 3
Oh,
might just cut that school down and say, whatever it's going to look like to support their interior life and feel successful, they may do it.
oh
So,
no, I shamed myself. I was like, I should have done this. I should have done that. And
yeah,
I'm too old. That's why they didn't hire me.
yeah. Some the oh, the so something worth noting here, and this is something that Katie brought to the table, and we're gonna do some stuff on wings again here soon. But that external focus is shared for 2s and 3s in terms of gaining attention. So you're right to say here's something that might be just very similar with you and 3s. There's going to be other dynamics at play. Specifically, so one other thing I wanted to bring up was that the way that it sounded like you handled being in environments of alcohol abuse feels more 2ish to me, in that you brought up denial, giving everyone else a pass, lying to myself about what was happening around me. 3s can lie to themselves. I took this as positive spin at some levels, that everything's okay, people will get better, and because you inserted yourself at one point saying that you wanted to try and fix the person. That all feels to me like I'm here to help. Things will be okay because I'm here, and we will get through this together kind of language. I don't know if you resonate with that in that situation. And obviously I'm kind of pulling into something that might be personal, but
absolutely. Yeah, I thought that I could fix and be enough until I learned that this is a disease and it's not your fault and you don't have any control over it, right? So I did that for a long time. The other thing too, though, but I'm not sure if this is really. I used to think that I married very young, and to kind of escape my family of origin, but my father didn't want me to get married. And I was like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it. So I held on for so long because I was going to prove to everybody that I could make this work. I'm not a quitter. I mean, I'm so totally loyal. Like, I'll be bleeding before I finally let go of whatever. Maybe that's an exaggeration, maybe not. But I definitely am there for the long haul for people. And I thought of it as success or failure too.
At cost to yourself.
Oh, hell yeah. Heck yeah.
Right. Are you willing to sacrifice your image for helping people?
Maybe not.
I will look like a fail. Okay, yeah, you want to talk about that?
I'm glad you brought up image, because that's one of the things too, is self-image. It's very important that I project a specific kind of image. And growing up in a dysfunctional house like I did, we were always projecting a healthy image out there, and then on the inside it was a wreck. So I learned that very early. So yeah, I mean, I think my self-image is very important to me, and I've had to, but it's for the purpose of making people like me. So I want you to like me. I want you to respect me, and then our relationship can move from there. But I definitely, self-image is important to me, I think.
Perfect. Well, let's do this. I would love to. So you may know this. We wrote a book called Around the Circle last year. It's got a mistyping chart in the back, which everybody should buy the physical copy just to get the mistyping chart. So
I was going to tell you, I bought
have fun with your friends.
I bought the audio, but I don't have the physical, so.
It's well worth it. It's lovely. It casts an image of thoughtfulness, and being a literature English major, a necessary text for your collection.
Okay.
By the way, I'm also an English major. And by the way, I also did not survive that first year after COVID teaching. I went back for 1 year and I was like, God, I'm so bad at this, and quit.
Well, I'm teaching
for other prospects, but
I'm teaching online now for SNHU, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to last because of AI, and it's
sure.
And I'm not getting that connection. I tell my students, please meet with me on Zoom. I want to help you. Nobody wants to meet with me unless they're desperate, really desperate. So it's hard. It is hard you're not really teaching. You're just managing, basically.
I hear you. Well, your last answer did have a lot of threeness in it, and so it's worth kind of pausing there. So I actually don't. I need to ask more questions about twos and image.
Do twos not have the image
that's
thing?
Valuable. Well, I need to ask.
Huh.
I think I associate image casting with threes, and I don't know. So
I care about what people think of me.
Yeah. I think that would be true. It's almost like, I mean, I don't know how deceptive twos are on this front. The two will struggle with pride at a level that threes don't, and threes will struggle with deceptiveness in ways that twos don't, but they may both.
Well, I think that's where the image, it is the
gears.
pride that's driving the image.
Yeah. Okay. You see the pride as more foundational.
Probably. Yeah, I think it's a pride that's pushing not deception, I don't understand what you mean by deceptive for the threes with image. Threes are more deceptive.
Threes can lie to they can lie to themselves and lie to others to rise above their what they intuitively feel is unbecoming, and we'll cast them as a failure. Don't want to be seen as a failure. So how do you spin things? Spinning will be a big thing it'll be a big tool for threes. So I don't know, but again, you could probably have some of that as well. Go ahead.
Well, I think that I'm very hard on myself and very honest about my failures with others. I've actually had people say, "You don't have to tell everybody everything. You don't have to tell." I mean, I've had sponsors in the program are like, "Meredith, you don't have to tell everybody. It's like you don't have to come clean." Just telling you that I didn't get that job, maybe a three wouldn't have done that, because it is embarrassing. I hate the fact that I didn't get that job. And it wasn't even a great job. What the heck? So anyway.
Right. That, I mean, of all things, that might be the clincher for me, that like, I don't see threes over communicating their failures. This is actually the opposite of how threes generally are in the world. So
I'm getting better.
Like I mean, there's a balance. Confession can be a great good. So
exactly.
Let me go through a few of these and just shotgun match you. This is from the back of our book. It's the mistyping chart, but with twos and threes.
Okay.
These are twos often and threes often. So it's not all the time, but a goodly amount of the time. Twos often want to be needed. Threes often want to be admired. Does one of those click with you more than the other?
I mean, I want to say needed right off the bat. I'm trying to feel because I do like to be admired, but I don't want to admit that I like to be. I need to be needed more than anything, I'd say.
Boom. Twos often give in order to connect. Threes often perform in order to impress.
I definitely give.
Bing. Twos often suppress resentment. Threes often suppress fatigue.
I suppress resentment, not fatigue.
Twos often please in order to belong. Threes often try and win in order to belong.
I like to win, but I definitely do a lot of pleasing. I would say pleasing.
Boom. Twos often hide their needs. Threes often hide their feelings.
I do not hide my feelings.
Boom.
My needs. Yeah. See, I can take care of all my needs, so. But that's the other thing, is that I'm not afraid to ask if I need something.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially those that are closest to me. I need you to do this.
Especially those who are closest to me.
Yes, and that.
Because you've earned that, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes my need is expressed by reaching up to the 8 and getting angry about it. I need you to unload the dishwasher, something like that.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
But
twos are going to often lose themselves in giving for others. Threes can lose themselves in doing all the things.
I do both of those things. Probably, I do
That's what I hear.
As much as I give.
Twos are afraid of being a burden to others. Threes are afraid of being average.
I don't want to be a burden.
Often.
I mean, I do feel about the average thing. I definitely, I don't think I'm afraid of being average because I don't think I'm average. I mean, I work hard to not, I have high aspirations about things, but yeah.
Do you ever have a struggle with feeling like you lack value?
I probably did more when I was younger, but I think I've kind of grown past that. I mean, there's moments where I don't feel like I do feel like I lack value to maybe a specific person.
Right.
But I would say with the recovery that I've gone through. So that's what's hard about it. So, so like if I look back at my younger self, I would say, yeah, I did. I might have felt that way occasionally.
Yeah. Good. Last one. For twos often hold their emotional pain quietly. Threes are often going to mask internal pressures they feel by action. Do either of those connect with you?
Say that about the twos, your pain, holding your pain?
Yeah, it goes alongside, I suppose, the not wanting to be a burden, but they are aware of their own emotional pain, but may not unveil all of that and hold it quietly.
Yeah, I probably do that to an extent, but I also I definitely verbalize my pain to people.
Boom.
Especially my husband, poor guy.
People closest to you.
Yeah. I wouldn't like in other words, at school, nobody knows anything but that everything's wonderful.
Right.
Now, I would never. Yeah.
I think you have good reason to hold to two. One of the things that's coming out in these spaces, and this is more, like imagine each of the Enneagram types as a color. A lot of the stuff that we're starting to kind of put our thumb on ends up being the shade that you are as a two. So not all twos look very dark or very bright or very,
Right.
You have a mixture. But some of the stuff that I'm hearing here at the end ends up being kind of the shade of two-ness. So what appears to be your circle of vulnerability is well established, and that came out in your language a lot, that there are some people you trust with some of the deeper elements of your heart, and you are aware of everybody else. And that is true of twos, fives, and eights. That's going to be a really clean way of talking about how twos, fives, and eights do relationships.
You call that circle of vulnerability?
Yeah, that's Katie Whitlock's word, and I think it works. That twos, fives, and eights all in relationship kind of establish a circle, and they test for who can be included. And twos in particular, over time, will test others by giving them gifts and seeing whether or not they reciprocate the kind of care they need. And when that bonding begins to take place through the gifts that twos give, then that's how the closest relationships to twos will be manufactured. Twos will give the shirt off their back to everybody. They won't be vulnerable to everybody. And that's a worthy distinction. We used to say, there was a person that was a difficult person. I'd said, he'll give you the shirt right off my back. Right. That's a good one.
Because I was always given my shirt, so everybody gave my shirt. It was like, I'm
gonna wrap us up. It's been fantastic talking to you. I really enjoyed our conversation. The two resources. One, I'm going to release a recording of our second Saturday from May here in the next couple weeks. But we talked about how twos and fives and eights do relationships, which I imagine will be very helpful, both in terms of thinking through your own rhythms, but hearing the rhythms of fives as well, since you're in a marriage. The second one, I don't know if you heard it, but I keep bringing up Katie. But Katie released a episode with she and her mom. Katie's a 3. Her mom, Sarah, is a 2. That's in our feed, in the Around the Circle feed. It might be worth listening to that and listening for the ticks and priorities of the two.
I haven't seen that.
Who are representing those types. So it was released maybe 2 weeks ago.
So it's fairly new. Okay.
So yeah. So, but it's just labeled Roots, Sarah and Katie Whitlock.
Roots.
It'd be worth, just because,
sure.
Again, because that's kind of, I feel like you're right in saying that's probably where you land. That might be worth listening to. But as with all things with typing, just hold it loosely. But I think jumping in and saying, I'm going to do work with twos and tune this and see how it feels. That's the best place to be.
Yeah.